the Mystery Teachings with Katerina Satori, and in this video I'd love to continue a topic that I've started almost 5 years ago when I recorded a video called When Someone You Love Pushes You Away. And I'm curious to see what will come through in this topic, because I have noticed that people usually create distance between themselves and others when they need space to heal. So very rarely it is anything personal. Even if it may feel personal, when somebody you love pushes you away or creates distance between you or avoids connecting with you, if you remember that when somebody is moving through a self-discovery or a process of inner darkness or inner overwhelm, right? They are not punishing you with distance, at least on the conscious level. A lot of times something much deeper going on, and quite possibly they don't have the skill of communication to sit down with you and say, hey, I'm going through something really, really challenging, and I don't know how to cultivate connection right now. I cannot even think about others. So it's not personal, it's something that I am moving through. So I am taking as much space to be by myself as I can. You see, that takes a particular level of communication skill, a particular level of consciousness to express that, right? I would say, just to reassure you, if you're going through the process, maybe it's your family member, maybe it's your partner, maybe it's your child, business partner, when people going through an intense or accelerated process of awakening, or maybe things are falling apart in their life, and usually things are falling apart so they could come together in a new way, right? It takes a certain level of trust, to trust the process, to trust the direction that your life takes. And this is, the more we come to awakening into the true nature of a reality, the more we can see that. But let's begin with when somebody you love pushes you away by creating distance, by avoiding connecting with you, by avoiding communicating with you. The least effective way is to run after them or to convince them to communicate with you. It rarely works. So what I would suggest, and what I have found effective in my life, is to imagine that you can talk to that person's essence, soul essence. You can imagine that they have a higher self, a wiser, more ancient part of their soul that overlooks their journey. And you can, whether in meditation or in prayer, or when you are somewhere in the nature, when your mind is clear and centered, you can visualize yourself connecting to their soul, and you can telepathically express what is it you desire to express to them, whether it is, hey, I'm really craving a heartfelt connection with you. And what I feel right now, that you're going through a lot, or you're holding a lot, and that connection is not possible. But I want you to know, on the level of the soul, I am here. You see, we forgot as species that telepathic communication is actually a very effective way to reach another person's soul, right? But it takes that innocence of the heart, and almost like innocence to be like a childlike, to remember the language of the soul that is not based on words alone. The language of the soul is a lot of times is based on images, right? That you see when you go to sleep at night. It's the feeling based, the senses that you feel around another person, right? So that's the language of the soul. So if you're craving a connection with somebody you love, and they create distance because they need a space to heal and they don't know how to communicate to you that, you can communicate with their soul, and you can also send them loving energy, right? And you can rest in the trust that once a person goes through the cycle of their healing, they will return to seeing a relationship with you in a new light. Maybe it will take years for some. Maybe it will never come to the moment where you will hear an apology or, a direct communication. But if you remember that you can connect to the soul, that's really all that matters. And every time you think of them with gratitude. Sometimes we crave completion so deeply whenever you're going through a romantic relationship with somebody, right? And I always say, you can say so much about a person's evolution by how they choose to complete their relationships, whether it's a romantic or business. You can say a lot, right? So sometimes you are ready to complete the relationship, and then another person is not capable to do that, right? So here's you, a person who has the most awareness in the moment. You get to be the agent of grace. You get to stand in trust and in gratitude for everything that you've learned from that process, everything you've learned from that person. That's what I wanted to say. So to me, gratitude, whenever you think about a person, even if they push you away, they avoid connecting with you, they're going through their own personal drama of the personal movie of this reality, you can still reach them on a level of the soul. You can honor their need for space during their healing process. When the soul begins to awaken, in any person, it's usually a very solitary experience. It's an introspective experience, right? And it's very natural. So sometimes people will pull away because they have so much to attend to within. Maybe they've been suppressing it for a decade, and now finally they're beginning their process. And sometimes, people will look for new connections. They'll start visiting spiritual classes and workshops and mystical shops, right? And then they begin to make new connections. But this is my message of encouragement for you. People need space when they go through intense healing. So don't take it personally. Hold the space of love, unconditional acceptance, and understanding as much as possible. Just do the best. And know that you can always connect to their soul that is always available to you. This applies to people who are still alive and people who already have crossed to another side. So maybe you have something incomplete with your parents, right? And they already died. You can still connect to their soul essence and say what you wished you wanted to say or you could say while they were still alive. So remember, telepathic communication is as natural as breathing. All it takes is to learn to still the mind, learn to feel things with your body, and learning to trust what you hear, and learning to use the art of imagination, visualization to connect your heart essence with the soul of another human being in a way that is honoring, in a way that is benevolent, in a way that is life giving, and they will feel it as a wave of positive energy, right? So when people say, I'm gonna send you energy, I'm gonna send you love, if you really do it, instead of just using it as a nice spiritual phrase, if you really do it, if you really visualize how to send people loving energy, they will feel it as an upliftment of spirit. They will feel it as clarity in the mind. They will feel it as a special blessing came their way. So when you begin to attune more and more to how the energy worlds work, you will begin to realize the power of your energy, of your loving intent. On this note, this is what I wanted to share with you, is that when somebody you love pushes you away, remember not to take it personally. learn to read it as their unconscious request for space, not only from you, but from everybody else in their life. And you could experiment with a new form of connection on the level of the soul. And when you begin to experiment with that, you can begin to see that usually a person, when you give them space, they come around, right? You honor their desire for autonomy, their desire for silence, or their desire for transformation. You give that to them, they will come back, and they will come back renewed with new perspective and with more willingness to connect with you. Either way, I hope this video helped you and brought a little bit of encouragement, a little bit light into your world. When somebody you love pushes you away, it's not the end of the world. Maybe, quite maybe, it's a part of their self-discovery and healing process. And this could be a great opportunity for you to support them in that process by giving them all the space that they need. This was Katerina Satori, and if you resonate with this video, leave me a comment. Let me know in the comments below what was useful for you. And if you'd like me to expand on this topic, feel free to ask me a very specific questions in the comments as well. Thank you. This was Katerina Satori, and until next, stay connected to your soul essence.